What's up, guys? George Balekji here with Boston has entered the chat. But hey, check out the latest episode of Foxborough Rush. Mock Draft 4.0 is out. Ethan Ristadulu and I went through the 7 rounds for the Patriots. We did a trade back. We still got a left tackle. And we got an elite offensive weapon. That's in the latest Mock Draft 4.0. Check it out wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. That's Foxborough Rush. Now, let's get to the chat. Welcome in. New week, new record in the NHL. New Boston has entered the chat. George Balekji here with Kasey Hudson. Case, we're going to get right into it. Big day in hockey. Yeah. Big day in sports history. Ovechkin, 895 career goals.
I feel like we should have opened the show singing Bands Make Her Dance. Bands make her dance.
Just because that scene.
Yeah, that could have been jumping around. But I mean, yeah, 895 over 800 or 183 goalies. I mean, we've all been waiting for this, which makes it that much sweeter. The anticipation, the ticket prices, knowing that like this was a possibility. It was like $1,100 to be in the nosebleeds. But would one do that to be a part of history? Absolutely. So it's remarkable for the sport. It's a beautiful moment. And I think he also probably just posted one of the best sellies in the NHL.
Like belly slide
with the
right
belly
after.
Slide. Yeah.
I love the selly from his record tying goal, just dropping out to a knee, like exploding.
Yes.
And then this one, just the belly. Because what else are you going to do? Like the elation, the relief, the excitement, all of that to like finally hit that record that everyone's been watching. Like for a pin to drop, to see him achieve that 895 career goals. And he did it in the same amount of games. So it took Wayne Gretzky 1,487 games to get to 894. It took Ovi 1,487 games to get to 895. Same amount of games, one more goal for Ovi. But I just think it's amazing. 39 years old, setting the all-time goals record in the NHL. The way he did it, too. On the power play, rips it outside of the left dot, and just skies that one right by Ilya Sorokin like a rocket. No one was stopping that. It's like that's where Ovechkin's been so lethal his whole career.
Yep.
It's even better. You see him like drag it out, rip it, and get that goal for the record setting. It wasn't something soft. It wasn't No. It was Ovechkin from the dot, ripping that in, and the whole arena. This one in New York, in Long Island, Caps at the Isles, whole arena exploded with excitement to witness that.
Yeah, it was Ovi all the way. That's the best part about it. All of his isms, all of his style, everything that makes him him. And if you watch the documentary, it's just like it's that much more illuminating to be like, gosh, he just did this in perfect Ovi style. But I think like the chip on top of it, you mentioned Ilya Sorokin and like the bullet getting past him. This is a goalie he hasn't even been able to score on. So to finally get it past him, and he had it in his speech because of course they stopped the game, they roll out the carpet, and he's like, thanks Ilya for letting me score. And it capitalizes just the humor, the love, the passion, the excitement, everything that he brings to the sport, because there's been a big smile on this man's face day in and day out. His rituals that got him here, they're not overthought. I love all of that about watching him get to this mile marker, and then again being able to get past a goalie you haven't been able to get past, to add him to the goalie list. It just makes it that much more exciting for what this encompasses and like the conversations it's going to bring to a sport that just keeps evolving and changing, and the dynamic of all of it. Like, we've got a new face of hockey in a bigger magnitude than we expected.
This is a guy that came into the league 2005, just 20 years old. Entire career with one team, too, which is cool.
Yeah.
Because of how Gretzky bounced around the league. Oilers, Kings, Rangers, just to name a few. But to do it all with one city, win a cup at one point with his Capitals team. This season they're having as well, where they could win the President's Cup.
Their 50th anniversary season, too. Because have you seen the patches on their jerseys? Like,
take everything with that. And for how young and talented this team still is now, it's a 39-year-old Alexander Ovechkin that's kind of like not pulling this team along, but being the driving force behind them. And maybe not literally statistically on the ice, although his goals are still up there with just his normal like point output that he's having. But it's that he doesn't have to be the full driver of the offense, but it's like the full driver of like vibes. Like you mentioned, the Bands Make Her Dance. Like him out getting drinks before they play the Bruins, greeting a Ryan Leonard into the mix. Him just grabbing a beer right before he does a presser after another game. We see Wayne Gretzky visiting the team. It's everything that you just like kind of love about hockey, and one of the icons of the sports, one of the all-time greats. Again, 39 years old to set this goal record. The pace that he's been scoring as well, it's just been absolutely amazing for what he's been doing.
Yeah, he headed into this game with 41 goals, sitting third in the NHL for goal scoring on the season, a season that he hasn't played every game in as well. I know that that's kind of been one of the biggest things going around on Twitter, X, whatever you care to call it, but it's the fact that like time was lost upon him during this season, and it didn't change his game. It didn't change the trajectory of picking up such a milestone, such as 895 goals career-wise. But kind of circling back to you talking about like what he's meant to this team, who he is to this team, and how they're still a very young team. That's so crucial because I think the culture that has been established with Ovi being on this roster is going to continue to live on. Like, he's creating such a legacy in a number of ways, especially in that locker room, because as young as those guys are, there's going to be so many points to his game, the way that he carries himself, the way that he uplifts his team, the leadership style that he's incorporated. And I think a lot of these guys, where they're at in their career, they're going to perfectly pick up the most important pieces of Ovi and continue to carry it on. When that carry on is going to be necessary, we're still unsure, because I don't know if you hit 895. You're in such a key season. You can potentially make a grab for the President's Trophy. He might try to break the President's Trophy curse on top of breaking Gretzky's record. Like, there's just so many things. Could you imagine?
The one that haunts every team. No team wants a President's Trophy.
Only 8 teams have surpassed this like curse.
Yeah.
And it's been living rent free in my head, because I'm thinking to myself the poetry of what this season has encompassed.
I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious. But that President's Trophy curse, I believe in it.
Yes, I do.
Like, and it's more of what that means for a team. You could be the best regular season team, but who wins it in the cup? And that's a team that's healthy at the right time, catches fire, all of that. But this team has just like everything that's working with them. It's even like the line that he plays with the Dylan Strome and Tom Wilson, how good they've been. Yeah. Connor McMichael and Pierre-Luc Dubois. When Leonard got called up, we were wondering, all right, is he going to be the third or fourth liner? No, they throw him into that second line for the Caps. And it's just where all the pieces are falling together. And it still is that. And that's the thing that I like about this too. It's that he made history, became the all-time goal scorer. And it wasn't with a team that's everything they're riding on.
Right.
This is a team that Alexander Ovechkin's scoring 40-plus goals again, which is insane at 39 years old. And they can make a run and win this cup because they are actually that good. And it's more than Alexander Ovechkin. I think that's what makes this record really cool, too. This is a pinnacle moment overall for Caps fans, hockey fans, everything. But then it can lead to the Caps once again winning a cup.
Well, that on top of the contrast of their season last year. Yeah, they snuck into the playoffs, but I mean, the goal differential that this team was working with, if not for Charlie Lindgren, I mean, we were having a completely different conversation last year. So they did the right things at the right time. Players stepped up, guys found their game, and that just attests to the leadership, the coaches, Ovi being a pillar of this locker room, and the development that this team found in the offseason for 1 for 2. Those guys that you mentioned, I mean, to Alexi Protas for one, when Ovi went down, to see the young guys that were able to step up and still continue to have points get on the board for them, and they didn't drop off as this team, they were still able to continue to find the back of the net, get crucial points. It's so... I feel like I'm overusing the word poetic, but that's usually where you see some drop-offs. That's where you usually see some shakeups, and this team has just really seemed unshakable. Yeah, they've had their losses and some significant losses at that, but the learning curve on these and the bounce back after has just been great. And the morale, the way that you see this team function in the hallway getting ready for games, and like, you know, that's what I mean by they're going to pull off of all the things that Ovi has dropped throughout the years and make it their own. Like, it's going to become a Capitals, like, everything. It's going to become their theme, their headline. But I think that you said it. They just kind of have all of these tools working for them right now, and the locker room just seems like one of the best locker rooms in the NHL to be in at the moment.
That's always a fun part to watch about hockey too, is like the vibes that these guys ride on, and especially with how the game is right now. And I agree with like modernization of science, recovery, all of that with the technology. Like when he swapped sticks with Ryan Leonard at morning tea, I was like, it's too whippy. I don't like it. And him getting a beer right after a game, you would never see a player do that now. It's protein shakes. It's get your glutamine pills in, start the recovery process.
Like a Cheetos diet.
It's just, and it's what he's always been. Drinks beer, shows up, scores goals. And I just never, when you always hear about the Gretzky records, it wasn't just all-time goals, but if you take away all his goals, he's still the all-time points leader. That's how good of a player he was, how dominant. But never imagined I would see that all-time goals record broken. Even when Ovi was getting close, you're like, man, he's old, he looks washed, he doesn't look like he has it. I think that's one of the most impressive parts of all of this.
Yeah.
I keep bringing up how he's almost 40, but it's like, you're almost 40 in hockey in a career that started in 2005. And in 2025, second half of this season, that's when he's setting the record. That to me is what just impresses me. And this is a guy that year in, year out, has always been playing 60, 70, 80 games from his rookie season, playing 80 plus games that season to now as a vet. Yeah, he's been banged up like you point out, but you're still getting 60 plus out of him and playoff runs. Like the wear and tear on him, and it didn't matter. I'm just so impressed. I never thought we'd see a player. You expect records to be broken. I just didn't really. I thought this was more of the unattainable records, and I'm just shocked it was broken. In a good way, shocked though. It's so cool to see it happen. Yeah,
100%. It still felt out of reach in a number of ways, and one of the biggest ways why, to me, it still felt like okay, like Ovi's the kind of guy that could get close, but to surpass it, and then not even just to clip it. I mean, we still have plenty of season left and potential postseason. Exactly, but it felt a little further out for me because over the past couple of years, we've seen the Capitals kind of have their own senses of adversity because key players, supporting players, have been unhealthy, have been out of the lineup. And, like, you got to be able to get the puck to a guy like Ovi in order for him to have these moments. Yeah. That was the other thing that was so special is, like, while they're doing all of these presentations on the ice, he did not veer away from we. Like, it was, we did it. We did it. We did it, boys. He just kept saying it. And you saw the emotions in the locker room when he tied Gretzky's record the other night. It's just like, he's never veered away from the fact that this is a team effort. So that was part of the reason why I was like, okay, he's going to get close, but like, is he going to hit it? Is he going to surpass it? Over the past couple of seasons, like, yeah, it did kind of feel like more abstract than a possibility because I wasn't sure where this Capitals team was heading. Yeah. And then after last year, like I said, the contrast to last season to this year, it's just like, it's so perfectly formulated and makes it all that much more sweeter. And I'm sorry, I can't get past the fact of finally nipping past a goalie that you haven't been able to get past. Like,
right, that's with all of it too. It's like he never scored a goal against Ilya Sorokin in his entire career. Our producer Brendan gave us that like before the puck dropped. He's like, I don't know if we'll see if he does. He's never scored on Ilya Sorokin. And it's for a guy that's played as long as he has, for as long as Sorokin's been playing too, year in, year out, starting goalie for the Islanders too. Them being, and him with the Caps, they obviously face each other a ton. That's like, again, it just adds more and more to the lore of this moment.
Right. And then on top of all of it, you could just see, I feel like there's an extra level of motivation and inspiration when you know that like other top players in the NHL are like pulling for you. Yeah, Gretzky is like, he decided 4 games ago he's going to start following along with the team because he knew it was coming. Yep. But it's just like, it's these other big names that just knew it was going to come and like what it means to the sport as a whole, but what it also is going to translate to for their personal game. Yeah. I mean, I saw on Twitter that like Kucherov and Vasilevsky gave a shout out to him. I thought it was funny that Vasi said "you're welcome" because as a goalie, he basically was like all the ones there's a numbers that got past him to help accumulate this, but still, it's just like it's the different checkpoints of this sport that this affects and like how this is going to carry over is going to be significant.
Evgeny Malkin, giving him a shout out, is on Penguins Twitter. Same as Sidney Crosby. David Pastrnak for the Bruins as well. Yeah. So you see the stars. There was also the video. We'll show it to you guys here. Funniest thing. But Steve Carell, Vince Vaughn, Michael Phelps, LeBron James, Simone Biles, all working towards the same thing, saying congrats to Alexander Ovechkin.
What's up, Ovi? Number 1, let's go. Congrats.
Hey, Alex, it's Mess. I just want to congratulate you on breaking the all-time NHL goal-scoring record.
895 goals. Wow.
You found a way to do it. Congratulations.
You have not only broken a record, but you have cemented your place in history.
Congratulations, Mr. Ovechkin. That is awesome.
I'm very happy for you. I hope you can hold the record forever.
Congratulations from Big Snoop Dogg. Keep on shining.
Hi, Alex. Congratulations. Quite a record to break.
To be the man, you have to beat the man. You, sir, are now the man.
Now you are the one that's chased since you have passed the great one.
Congratulations on this incredible achievement.
Congratulations, Ovi. You deserve it, pal.
Wow. Ovi, congratulations. That's boy, what a milestone that is.
To be the greatest for so many years shows why you are truly one of one.
Congratulations to you. You're an inspiration to all.
You've done a wonderful job of reaching this number. Congratulations.
Thank you for being so inspiring.
Congrats on this historic milestone.
Congratulations. It's an unbelievable accomplishment.
Congratulations on the record, man.
Enjoy the moment. Congrats, GOAT.
We congratulate you on this milestone, and we wish you lots more excitement ahead.
Alex, way to go. Keep going.
Congratulations, Ovi.
Alex, way to go, man. By the way, records are there to be broken.
Congratulations. Enjoy this with your family.
We're so proud of you. While you're at it, how about you win another cup? I'll tell you what, I'll meet you in the fountain, all right?
To the Gr8 Congratulations. Salute to you, brother.
Is 1,000 a possibility?
I think that's one of the funniest things of sports is like, as I'm watching a video, I'm like, all right, Simone Biles, cool. And I'm like, Steve Carell, interesting. I know he likes hockey. And it's like Vince Vaughn Whatever the NHL did, they were like, we're going to reach out to all these people that like hockey, I suppose, majority of them. I don't know how big. Pat Sajak, too. Like, The Price is Right. A lot of hockey fans out there, and it's cool. Just like I would never thought I'd mention all those people together in the same sentence. What brings them together is a record like this in sports.
I know. And what I love is, first of all, I want to know, like, how far in advance did the NHL start pulling them together and being like, hey, we're preparing for this moment. But then also, I think it's just one of those reminders that there's A, more hockey fans out there than we realize, and B, more just going to be getting in the mix here. I remember when we were looking at the video and I was like, considering the roster for LA Strong, I'm like, this is starting to make a little bit of sense. But even like the roster for that, the celebrities that were involved, the celebrities that were playing, like I was so surprised. But it's a parallel testimony to how much the sport has grown, how much further it's going to continue to grow, and to have names of people that I never thought were watching hockey rally around and be a part of a tribute video for Ovi breaking such a magnificent record. It's just like, wow, this is wild.
What do you think of them like completely stopping the game, the whole pageantry of it? I'm for it.
I'm here for it. I know
it's an all-time record. Some people think save it for after the game. That's such a monumental moment.
You can't skip past something like that.
Yeah. And it's like, that's the big moment too of like, soak it in, celebrate the sport, celebrate the accomplishments, celebrate the superstar.
Yep.
And you were talking about ticket prices. People bought those ticket prices to see him break the record. Do it right away. And just, that's what the moment is. That's why people were tuning in. That's why TNT was following every game. That's why Wayne Gretzky was traveling.
Right.
Don't save it for after. That's one where I applaud NHL. Capitalize on the moment. People will be tuning in for that goal, for the celebration, and then some people will be tuning out. Don't keep it towards the end. Do it like that. I liked the in-game celebration. It was huge. They stopped it, rolled out the literal red carpet, had videos in the arena for his family. But I love that of like, that is such a big moment in sports in general. Celebrate it and put that spotlight on it like they did.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it too, because I know one of the first questions I ask in any interviews, whether it's players or coaches, is like, you know, I got to talk to Jeremy Roenick about it as well. You kind of black out when these spectacular moments happen. You know, I just know it for like my little life moments.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine something like that. So to completely bring the game, the situation, the magnitude of all of it to a standstill, you said it. It's kind of adding to being present in the moment. And at that moment, I think we could say the NHL as a whole came to a standstill. So then to have the ceremony and the pageantry behind it, I think it's just going to give them a moment of reflection after everything calms down and the quiet sets in, to actually be able to look back over that and recollect and feel every ounce of that moment.
Yeah.
More importantly, like for him to have his family there, for them to be down on the ice. Like you said, people have flown in and been tracking this over the past couple of games.
Yeah.
So if they would have continued the game after the fact, I feel like there would have been so many pieces that you're mentally trying to bring back to such a monumental situation.
And it would be like the talk in the whole arena at that point too.
Right.
Everyone's
Like nobody else is continuing to watch everything going on. Like everyone's attention span is still capulated in that moment. So I think it's like, it's wise to stop it. It's wise to pay tribute to it and make everything happen right then and there without rushing it either. Like to roll out the carpets, that whole
do
thing.
It right.
Exactly.
Do it right by someone. You talk about where the sport is now. Like Ovechkin's one of the reasons it got built up to be what it is.
Yes.
He's an absolute superstar. In other sports, LeBron sets an all-time scoring record. They stop the game and celebrate it. You should, absolutely.
Yeah.
These are the biggest names in your sports. Okay, and like the whole reason the athletes play, yes, is for winning a cup like he did in 18, but it's also for like why people tune in, to see these athletes accomplish things that are unheard of, that are amazing, that are feats that only they can do. This is part of it. So when it's done, stop the game for a record this big and do it. I'm all for that.
Yeah, and then something else to take into consideration. Say that they decided to wait and put this at the end of the game, but it turns into this weird, messy game, or like say the Capitals ended up get blown out because they had a crappy third period. You know what I mean?
No one wants
like,
to be out there.
Exactly. So like at that point, like you don't want to put too much wiggle room to change the scope of the situation.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by just like freeze it, because we don't have opportunities to freeze much in life.
Mm-hmm.
You freeze that moment, you celebrate it to the extent that you can, and like then go from there, because it would be a little wonky if it, you know, you never know what's going to happen.
And it's him giving a speech, Wayne Gretzky giving a speech, Ovi's mom being there in attendance, her having a message on the Jumbotron for him too.
Yeah.
That to me is, you did right by the sport, by the moment. NHL always comes up short in so many spots, especially with the marketing of the whole league and the superstars. But this is something they got right all the way.
Yeah.
I still can't get away from power play, on the rush, from just outside the face-off circle too.
Yes.
Absolutely rips that shot. It was a perfect OV goal to set the record. And then that belly slide Selly too.
It's the belly slide. I need him to do it for every goal after. Like, he can't go back to any other celebration other than the belly slide.
That's going to start being a thing.
Yeah.
You know, you've seen other iconic celebrations like the McGregor Billy walk, like and stuff like that. LeBron with the 2 hands down, pat on the chest after hitting a big shot. We're going to start seeing this college hockey, pro hockey too. This is going to be everywhere. I'm definitive of that.
If I was a Capitals player, it would be everybody's celebration from here on out.
Right.
Especially if they continue to go further and further. Like, make it a team thing. They do really well with that. The Capitals do.
Yeah.
All encompassing.
You just that buy-in. I think that's a cool part of the team.
Yeah.
And that's one too on for the journey that he's been on. You go back to, he was like, it was we. It's again, and it's something we talk about because we're so close to it, but watching Ryan Leonard at BC the last 2 years.
I can't imagine his head right now.
And when he came back for his sophomore season, watching him dominate, it's like he could have gone, but obviously developed more and it was the right choice for him. But he had a game that can make an immediate impact in the NHL as he's doing now. It's when he gets that call to join the team and OV meets him at a bar in Boston just to hang with him, and it looked like a bunch of his BC teammates too. Like, he takes those moments while he's chasing history. He could be so laser focused on that this season. That's where you have to admire the type of athlete he is.
Yes.
Where he never took it too serious with any aspect of it. Went out, played the game he's so elite at, and one of the greatest to ever do it. So it's things like that, and where there's this rookie coming along where he could be like, this is about me. No, it was never that. It's about the team. And he made, as big as that moment was, he made the ride as enjoyable as it possibly could be this season too. And that's what I think is cool. You mentioned it. Does he come back? I think the Caps are going to make a run. I think this is the final song for him.
You do?
It just, to me, it makes sense of how good this team is, how long he's been doing it, what they could accomplish, what he put into this season and score again to make that jump back to 42 goals now after he set this record on this year. I just think like this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the way I want to see it. I don't want it to be like a last season OV or
right.
Where it's like, is that going to take him 2 to 3 years? Like, is he going to be doing 4? I think like this is the perfect way with also how good the Caps are. You do this and then you leave it and go, all right, this is their team now. He's been with the franchise the whole time too.
A good departure point because of where the Capitals are as a whole.
That's my thing. Yeah.
Totally agree with that.
They're in a great spot.
But it's just like,
but you feel like there's so much game left.
Yeah, like you're still doing it.
Yeah.
And like what I love about how you painted the picture of like how he can still be so present for other moments outside of what he's doing. It just speaks to how, you know how they talk about athletes who lose that spark for a minute, and there's a number of hockey players that have to refine that love for this sport because it's a difficult journey. It's difficult to stay in it. It's difficult because the minute that you're not producing, your entire role can change on a roster in the league as a whole. So to see that passion, that spark, that just pure joy of playing this game, like that joy is still all over him, top to bottom. And you mentioned not taking it too seriously. It just shows you how much he just loves what he gets a chance to do. But seeing his numbers on the season, then breaking this record. And I remember Sophia's interview with Chara last week, and Chara played until, mid 40s. It's like, if you can still do it and you're doing it at a high level, like right now he can have another season, and not that he worried about it per se, but he can have a season where he's not worrying about surpassing Gretzky.
Yeah. Once again, just focus on the hockey.
Exactly. Like he's just, again, evolving with the game and going to leave a bigger legacy and a bigger footprint. So it's just like, I can't imagine him retiring after this season, but to your point, a great season to do so.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I feel like there's at least 2 years left in OB for me.
Because what you see, he could just tell he just loves the game too.
Yes.
But it's a one of like, I've done everything, won the cup, have the all-time goals, let me go enjoy life. But like, this is life for him. His life is hockey.
Yeah.
And so that's
departing
why,
from that is like, it's different and it's difficult.
Yeah. Like I see the path of retire after this run, but I see the path on the other side too. Like, it's just both sides make complete sense.
Yeah.
You've done everything you can. You've won the cup. He's done it. He has over 150 playoff games on his resume too, on top of the 1,487 regular season games. Like, that's what makes it amazing.
Yeah.
He's done it all, but I can see it going both ways. For more on Alex Ovechkin's record-breaking performance and the latest on the Stanley Cup playoff race, check out the Nessens, the Hockey Hub podcast. New episodes drop Tuesday and Thursday, available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever else you get your podcast. That's Nessens, the Hockey Hub podcast, covering everything Bruins, NHL, everything hockey. All right, we'll get into what's trending now, Case. We'll start with talking about great sellies. The Red Sox, as we saw in their home opener, unveiled their new celebration for home runs this year, the Wally, the Green Monster mask home run celebration. This is the great part. So it was, the idea came along from Jarren Duran asking around, can we have like a Wally mask to put on? He got it. He asked for a miniature one. Didn't know if it was doable. So we see Wally presenting it to Jarren Duran before their game against the Cardinals. And how perfect. Trevor Story, Willie Abreu, back-to-back, first inning, hit home runs. We see that celebration unveiled. So awesome to see how it all came together. And again, in a young leader like Jarren Duran to have this idea, talking about vibes for a team, for him to come up with it.
I think you put it perfectly. It's establishing new vibes. It's establishing something that these guys are going to look forward to, and so perfectly poised as well, because I know that there was a little bit of panic the way that they fell short to the Rangers the rest of the series and stuff, but then the game started to come together, and then you've got this young leader that's like, all right, let's add to it. Mm-hmm. And you saw how much the guys were looking forward to throwing that head on. Yeah, like when the back-to-back happened, we're all standing there, I mean, like, head on a swivel, because I'm like, oh, did it just happen again? And like, you and I all, and the whole chat group were like all hanging out, but the first thing you saw, like, Story run to the side, grab the head. Yep. And so like it gives him something to look forward to. It's one of those like extra fun, entertaining motivators on top of everything else. And I mean, we're just seeing this team kind of formulate so beautifully, and that's not even considering the other injuries that have to heal and make their way into the lineup to kind of give this team that big push. So good on Duran for that.
I think it's so smart, and it's funny too for the guy that came up with it is yet to hit a home run this season.
I know.
And Duran, he'd easily be a 20-30 player, home runs and stolen bases as well. And you know, he probably want to be the first one to rock it. I just loved like the assistant general manager helped make it happen. Alex Cora saw the Wally head before the game. I was like, what's going on here? I heard it, was on board with it. But we've seen the evolution of when I first got here, it was a laundry cart push through the dugout celebration after home runs. Alex Cora's Boston Marathon medal. Masataka Yoshida with the inflatable dumbbells. Now it's this. It's, again, we talk about, and it's a 162 game season. What gets you through? It's stuff like this.
It is.
And I love how it connects the city with the team even more, and a fun mascot like Wally with the team as well. That's what makes the celebration so great.
Yeah, love as long as they don't change it to the jacked Wally. Did you see Adam Pellerin's tweet for which picture he should post for the Red Sox win? And there was like a really jacked Wally, and there was like AI? Normal. It was just terrifying. That's all.
With Jarren Duran.
Look at this.
You know what?
You like jacked Wally?
I'm fine with it. I'm a meathead. I'm all for that.
He eats his lentils. That's lentil Wally versus
exactly
versus McDonald's Wally. We're here for it.
It's also funny that the Wally head is like a miniature one. Like Wally's head is big enough as is. That mini one just makes it even better. It's like what is that? Where is it from? I thought it was like a small old mask or something too.
I know. I actually didn't realize that it was like the full encompassing thing.
And you can see their face in it too, which is good.
Yeah, that part's funny.
That's what I love.
I'm here for that one.
All right, sticking with baseball. Rob Manfred came up to talk about the torpedo bats. Absolutely good for baseball. Here's an excerpt from an Athletic piece. They're absolutely good for baseball. I believe that issues like the torpedo bat and the debate around it demonstrates the fact that baseball still occupies a unique place in our culture because people get into a complete frenzy over something that's really nothing at the end of the day. The bats comply with the rules. Players have actually been moving the sweet spot around in bats for years, but it just demonstrates that something about the game is more important than is captured by television ratings or revenue or any of those things when you have the discussions and debates about it. Okay, it's good for baseball. Rob Manfred, just know though, like...
yeah, I was like...
The fact that, what does he say? A complete frenzy over something that's really nothing at the end of the day. This is something.
This is not nothing.
This is a modernization. This is science. This is literal physics all getting involved.
Yep.
This is your batters getting an advantage over a pitcher where there are pitchers that place their pitch to jam up certain batters and they move it. This is absolutely something, and I'm all for torpedo bats. So I like that he says it's good for baseball, but once again, as it always is, Rob Manfred just misses the mark. Like when there was a discussion of if there'd be a World Series during the COVID years, like, well, it's just a trophy. It's like, that's why you play the game.
That's the end goal. That's the one of the like people get in, like there's career marks, clearly, as we just talked about the Ovi conversation, that like you work so hard towards, and then to oversimplify it, that's the problem. Yes, good for baseball. It's the oversimplification of it's not a big deal. It is a big deal because the metrics in baseball always have to come out right, or it creates a larger, more frenzied conversation, as he mentioned. Everything in baseball is so meticulously watched because the individual performance, the individual compete between a batter and a pitcher, and all these layers that go into making baseball what it is. Every ounce of the matter counts. So yeah, the baseball bat, the torpedo bat, is going to be highly kicking up conversation because people want to make sure that it's keeping the game fair, yet also what is this? Because I remember when the news first came out, I made the mistake of not knowing at the moment whether or not Aaron Judge would ever consider using a bat like this. But you've got guys that'll never even go in that direction because don't broke what's not fixed. Yeah, exactly. That whole concept. So yeah, it's a bigger deal than he tried to oversimplify it. But like, I agree with you. Still good for baseball.
Just demonstrates something about the game is more important than is captured by ratings or revenue. No, like he's just deflecting at that point. Yeah. Where it's like there is still a ratings issue with baseball. There still is a revenue issue, and that's because of the sport of baseball. He's just said it's good for baseball. It creates more runs. It creates excitement. It creates these conversations, and it creates interest around the game. And it is where people are watching. And now when home runs are hit, is it torpedo bat? Is it not?
Right.
And even on the reverse, when pitchers get back to leveling the playing field, when they win against a torpedo bat, like that adds to it too. For as good as the pitching is, the batters had to catch up. It's a pitching clock. It's bigger bases, more stolen bases. It's a quicker pace of play. It's doing all the right moves.
Yeah.
But it's like, when it says really nothing at the end of the day, it certainly is. Because Volpe's not just having a career pace of home runs out of nowhere. It's because of the torpedo bat.
Yeah.
It's just Rob Manfred being Rob Manfred. And I don't mean that in the best way possible, but take it. Hey, make sure to stream the entire Sox season, including Alex Bregman and his torpedo bat, with the NESN 360 annual plan. Available at an all-new reduced price of just $20 a month paid annually. And for a limited time, get 4 free tickets to Fenway with your purchase. Visit NESN360.com to sign up today. That's NESN360.com to sign up today. All right, talking college hoops. Main zone, Cooper Flag, Duke's run over Houston. What a comeback by them to beat Duke in the Final Four. 70-67 was a final. It was a 6-point game with under 35 seconds to go. And then Florida as well, beating Auburn. They come back down as well. They were down 14, win 79-73. Puts together a great finals matchup. But those games too. The Houston game was great. What I loved about it, and I thought Duke would win it all. They were an NBA team. Cooper Flag's the best player in the country.
People had it.
He affects the game and impacts the game in a positive way without the ball in his hands, along with being an end-to-end player. Finished with over 25 points as well. Was playing fantastic. Houston never stopped playing, though.
Right.
In a spot where you're down 6, under 35 seconds left, a lot of teams will foul at that point. But that's Houston trusting their defense, trusting their toughness, trusting their shot creators and makers, which puts them over the top. Kelvin Sampson trusting himself as one of the best coaches in basketball. And our guy, Ante Campbell, you can find on Hold My Banner, told me, John Shire 79-0 when leading by 10 points at any point in any game. That was a first loss under his tenure.
Wow.
As a head coach. But also what was brilliant was this is a Duke team that's run through the ACC, run through tournament play, wasn't in any close games ever. And when they were, Houston kept the pressure on, and Duke was in such unfamiliar territory. That's what I loved about, along with the shot makes at the end and how well they did. But it was Houston playing their game. And there's a mental aspect of it all, too, of like Duke shrunk in the moment where Houston raised and elevated their play.
Yeah, I think the key thing you said there was like Duke being in unfamiliar territory.
Yeah.
I love that perspective on this because that literally is what this Final Four tournament is all about. It's about kind of having these new game plans that you have to face. I think one of the biggest measures that we see the championship teams come out on top with is the fact that they can adjust their game. They can adjust quarter by quarter. They can make these quick pivots. They're very coachable. That's why the ratio of, players that are veteran players and new players, all of these things all encompassing to make the run. And you got Houston going for its first title run since 1984, but it was also the timely forced turnovers. They just got really smart with how they were watching the ball and how they were able to continue to keep Duke in unfamiliar territory, make them uncomfortable. They have relentless pressure to their game, and then it all comes down to their defense.
Yeah.
As spectacular as a defense is, and to carry them to this point is fantastic. The point I always make make is like, is this a team that's going to be stuck in a defensive role and not be able to match point for point when it comes to that next step to contend for that championship? But regardless, they were able to make the top team very uncomfortable. They were able to present issues that they weren't familiar with facing. And I mean, one of the turnovers ended up being a freaking dunk in this game. So it's just like, they're exciting to see what they can present and how they can continue to adjust their game so that they can continue to push forward.
Yeah, it was Emmanuel Sharp getting offensive rebound, just going back, getting a 3. That made it 67-64. And then on that offensive rebound dunk, like you're talking about, that is them out physicaling them. Mm-hmm. And at that point, Houston still hunting for threes too, because they wanted to tie the game at that point. But it's just, again, playing the game, playing smart where they had time, 25 seconds left. Get the 3, miss it, fine. If you can put it home and put it away, that made it a 1-point game. And then getting to the free throw line, putting pressure on guys like a Tyrese Proctor, putting pressure on guys like a Cooper Flagg who played so well. And it's a Houston team that's the best defensive team in the country, one of the slowest tempo teams in the country, but top 10 on both ends of the floor, especially between Emmanuel Sharp and LJ Cryer. That's what sets Calvin Sampson and this team apart. He got there and he's built it up. Where the last few years, they've been a Final Four capable team. But the injuries they've had in the past, like a Marcus Sasser and Jamal Shed that they've dealt with, injuries that have put them out in the Sweet 16. They're finally healthy this time of year, and they've been a team that should get to the Final Four. But what Kelvin Sampson's done well is hasn't gone away from defense, brings in shot creators and makers, and lets them play their game, and the rest of the team defends, where they're really physical. And they just matched up so well with the Blue Devils and kept bringing the game to them. I think that's what I loved about this Houston team. And then the opposite of it, what you have with Florida, they beat a really big, really physical Auburn team, had to come back in the second half. It's Walter Clayton with 34 points, such a tough shot maker, and a veteran player transferred from Iona to Florida is really good. That's what makes this matchup fun, is you have Houston with their elite perimeter defenders against a guy like Walter Clayton, who's an elite perimeter offensive player, and Florida plays really up-tempo, really fast, really explosive offense, and defends really well, too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Houston can take what you just perfectly positioned there, slowing down the game, forcing their opponent to play their game. But with Florida, what I find interesting, and it looks similar to some of their previous runs, it's their depth. So they have to be able to slow down a number of guys on this Florida roster in order to force them and bait them into playing their game. Physicality isn't anything that wavers down the Florida team. We saw it as they surpassed Auburn. So there is going to have to be these adjustments that Houston's going to have to be able to make without coming outside of their identity as a whole and what they bring to the table. But the depth speaks out to me a lot, because say that they have the tendency to slow down certain guys. I mean, Alex Condon has been tremendous for Florida, and like his positioning, the passes that he sets up, his vision out there has been so key for this team to just continuously rise to the compete and surpass their opponent. So I feel like we're in for a great matchup of the fact that, like, even if they do slow down Florida, I don't think it's one of those situations where they can slow them down and take them out of the game. I think Florida can kind of have a bit of a versatility and re-identify themselves as the game is going along. I feel like that's what we've seen them do throughout the tournament. Yeah,
and this will be keeping them in check. Try to keep it in a half court too. You let Walter Clayton and that Florida team overall get out and run, like that's when the game can get out of hand. But it's just the defenders that Houston has. Because Florida was able to out-physical and push around Auburn and come back in the second half, like that's why I think it's going to be Florida.
Yeah.
But how this Houston team is built, they can match up so well with the Gators. The national championship, I mean, the Final Four has been playing in San Antonio, so obviously that you would expect Houston to have a slight advantage playing in the Alamo Dome, excuse me. It's tough to count out this Florida team. What I loved is all the hate the tournament got, the lack of upsets, the lack of Cinderellas, was all ones. We had 2 fantastic Final Four games.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a really good national championship game. And that's what you watch it for. You want to see the upsets. You want to see the Cinderella runs, of course. That's what makes it fun. But at the end of the day, I will take this over a UConn running San Diego State out of the gym by halftime like we had 2 years ago. UConn against Purdue, again, completely just dominating the entire field in that game. This should be a tightly contested game, and it's going to look like a lot of skill, a lot of modern game. It's not slow tempo, ugly college basketball. It's grown men hitting big shots, playing good offense, and really good defense. It's going to be a physical, grinded out game. I look forward to it.
It's going to be a grind because something that Houston does well is keeping things low scoring.
Yeah.
So when you make the scoring opportunities impossible or you minimize that situation, then you're seeing where the skill set has to sharpen and those adjustments have to come in. So I completely agree. I think it's still going to be a spectacular game and not something where, one of these teams is going to run away with anything. It's going to come down to the wire on it.
For more on the NCAA tournament, future of Cooper Flag, make sure to check out Nesson's basketball podcast, Hold My Banner, available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever else podcasts are found. That's Hold My Banner, hosted by Travis Thomas and Ante Campbell. Everything NCAA, everything NBA, everything basketball on Hold My Banner, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, now we'll get into it. Our F1 race review. Nice week off after the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Japanese Grand Prix today was boring. Was straightforward, just like China, just like what you would get with Australia. And it's an issue more for Formula One, not the drivers, but how qualifying fellas, how it went in this race. But it was Max Verstappen winning, and it was Max Verstappen once again dominating, 1 point behind Lando Norris in the World Drivers' Championship standings, which is a reflection on how great of a driver Max Verstappen is, how poor the strategy is from McLaren. But this was a race weekend where we saw Max go out and just blow everyone away with what he did in qualifying to set the course records with a far inferior car compared to the McLaren machines, to still do what he did. And then on top of that, to still win this race where, again, McLaren has the better cars, not the better drivers, the better cars. It just reasserts himself that no matter what Red Bull is putting out there for their machine, Verstappen's still the best driver in the world at the moment, which made it cool to watch. Boring race, but what he's achieving, and it's making this overall season look very interesting, where anyone else shouldn't be in the conversation of being this close with McLaren. Like Yuki Tsunoda, his first race with Red Bull, he finished 12th in this one, did good in practice, didn't do great in qualifying, but did better than what we've seen from Liam Lawson. That reflects how bad this car is, and Max just won against McLaren, who is setting the standard for every car on that course.
Yeah, it's a lethal combination when you've got such an intelligent driver like Verstappen and such a great car. I mean, a key car when it comes to Red Bull, because it is one of the top vehicles out there, especially for this track.
Yeah.
It's one of the cars that sits lowest to the ground, and on top of it, it's the meticulation of that first turn, because this track's pretty straightforward. So some of these racers, and you and I have talked about it when it comes to Lando particularly, they are all about strategizing the overtake. They are all about strategizing the jump. And this is not a track where you can have that moment. You saw Lando try to have that moment coming out of the pit. And for McLaren's car, and as hot as they run, the grass and the grass fires that are associated with the Japanese circuit can be detrimental. So it's just really a straightforward track. It's a simple plan, and then of course it comes down to the car and the driver, and I think that's why Max Verstappen and Red Bull have found so much success in this manner. But the 1 point difference, I mean, if Lando could have come into this mentally thinking, okay, I'm not going to try to overtake him on any turns, I have to have that hard press out of the first turn. You saw Lewis Hamilton try to have it for Ferrari because he understands this track. He just didn't have the car for the maneuver. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like you head into it, you're right, it is boring because it's you can go into this with an expectancy, and the fulfillment on the other end is the best racer with one of the better cars is going to come out on top no matter what. But if Lando would have simplified his plan, and if McLaren would have had a better call there between what Lando's supposed to do, what Piastri's supposed to do, they could have potentially ruined this for Verstappen.
Yeah, and it's also because of what this course is. Like, we've seen them make changes the last chicane and the Spanish Grand Prix to create more overpassing, more overtakes. This is a course back in the day it was good, but the cars are too fast and too wide now. These drivers are too good. And with these medium speed turns, they're where you would wait for a break or a late push back on the acceleration after making a turn, and that's where the overtake's happening with the timing. These drivers, they just have to go, and that's it.
Yeah.
There isn't as much room for error or for them to even open it up for an error that would cause an overtake. And it goes to like what McLaren's pitting strategy was.
Oh my gosh.
Why match Max Verstappen? Why put Lando in that situation? Either pit him a lap before, pit him earlier than Max, and just allow him, once Max is in the pit lane, allow it for that overtake, or pit him a lap later and have fresher tires at the end of the race, which gives you that opportunity to maybe make a push and overtake him on the second to last or maybe last lap on the race. But to match him, that's a part where McLaren is so confusing on what they're doing. Now, they got a double podium. That's what you want. That's great for them to see. But this is a team that won the Constructors last year, and it was big for them. It's the first time McLaren's won it since 98. No one cares about the Constructors. The racers don't care about the Constructors. They care about the World Driving Championship. The fact that they're so far ahead in the standings, and again, it's a reflection. Red Bull is third, but with Max Verstappen, with a far inferior car, with no number 2 driver, as we've seen so far, for him to be 1 point behind Lando Norris, that's what makes it interesting. It was puzzling to see them go with that decision. And that's where they have to go, where if you look at it, Max Verstappen lost in the Australian Grand Prix by I think 0.8 of a second.
Yeah.
He is normal weather conditions, because Australian Grand Prix, the rain threw everyone off. In normal weather conditions, he could have easily won 2 of the first 3 races. He wasn't close in China, but he could have won 2 of the first 3 races. Then what would the conversation be around McLaren? There has to be a point where, and with the strategy they went, cool, you got second, third, you got a double podium. But if you spoil away the world drivers, there needs to be that risk button that they press where they put Lando in a position to win first. Because you would either have a double podium of first, third, or a double podium of second, third. You want that first, third. There's such a drastic difference because it cannot spoil away having the best car on the grid.
Yeah, and you don't want to have the same mistakes that you had last year. You don't want things to be as close and mishapped as it was between Lando and Max Verstappen, and you're positioning yourself to make the same mistakes. I think you need to be the voice in the ear for McLaren, because the most important thing that jumped out to me was you mentioning figure out the strategy that works best for pit. Maybe do it beforehand, maybe do it after. I'm going to say beforehand because we've seen how smart of a driver Lando Norris is. Yeah. And we've seen his ability to pull away at the end of these races. And he's so relentless, he's so aggressive, and he's very smart considering the young age. And I would pit him beforehand and let him completely run with it at the end, because we've seen him have these narrow misses with the pits, bad timing on the stops, and still get so close. I feel like the tires would have held up. I mean, the track considering, but I think in this particular race, pit him beforehand and let him close that one out, because he would have had the ability to do so. And he's not overthinking the overtake at that moment. He is just focused on closing out the race.
Yeah.
Piastri's right there. First and third would have been so much better than this kind of dancing around, because you start giving Verstappen leads like this and we're looking at the same mess as last year. And there was still some confusion in what McLaren's strategy is when it comes to Lando versus Piastri. You don't want to have that, but they have to, it should have been made already. That's the part that's throwing me on this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lando with the better pace. He was better by 0.7 of a second. And there's that point too where they have to make the decision. If they're going to let this fester, that becomes a battle. And at one point there was that conversation, does Oscar get in second, regain position back to Lando? You don't want to throw it to the papaya rules again, which is absolutely absurd for any team to go with. But they have to make their decision of who do they think can win the world drivers. I think it would be Lando, just because he has a more experience.
Yeah.
You trust a Lando to go head to head with a Max Verstappen more. Then do you trust, because that's the unknown with Oscar. And while you have the better car right now, you need to go with the Lando Norris in this. And to go back to what the issue was in the pit too, as it was, Max got out first, was on his way to exit the pit lane. McLaren let Lando go. Yeah, and Max, very well in his rights, was going to pit speed, didn't give an inch to Lando because he's not going to give up that position to him. And yes, Lando's he pushed me to the grass. No, Lando saw a millisecond of a switch by Max in his positioning, went into the grass on his own. He could have slowed down, stayed closer to Max, not giving him that disadvantage, and just raced from that point on. Even after Lando said, no, it was fine, it was straightforward, there was no effect. Right. Every driver snitches on the other when it comes to their in-race radio and talking to their crew. But the fact for McLaren to even put themselves in that position, pit a lap earlier, pit a lap later, whatever it can be, trust your driver. There has to be a calculation of risk, because that's the only way they can beat a Max Verstappen. It's either that or they're waiting for the new regulations to come in, I think around the Spanish Grand Prix, where Christian Horner says that's a big regulation coming in. That's going to change everything. So maybe they're trying to hold position. And once they surpass Red Bull in a weaker car, maybe. But then again, you're going to have your drivers battle. And if anything, at this point, you need to test Lando and you need to test Oscar. Who can take on Max head-to-head with a race on the line? Who has the mental fortitude to do that? And who has the concentration that they can last with Max, who's an absolute amazing driver? Because find out now, instead of when it's race 15, 18 of the season, and then you're dealing with issues with your drivers, let alone your opponents.
100%, because we're seeing different things. I mean, I'll admit, and I understand where Lando's mentality comes from in terms of solidifying him as your lead racer, because he does set the tone. A number of the races where Piastri has come in strong, Lando's done the muddy work in the beginning, and he's helped the team have that pull away opportunity. But I like Piastri's ability to manage in the middle and how he pulls off towards the end. He'd be one of those guys I'd probably do a later pit stop with, because I feel like he has the ability to get back into the mix there and go toe to toe, as you mentioned, with a Verstappen. But they got to figure that out now, just as you said, because you don't want to pit your racers competitively against one another. We already saw the mess that almost was last season, and it just kind of works against them. You've got two amazing drivers. You mentioned the fact that Verstappen doesn't really have that next guy, that driver two, that's showing up at all for Red Bull. So why McLaren kind of keeps getting this wrong is confusing to me in a number of ways, because while there's similarities to the drive between Piastri and Lando, there's just certain things where you can already eyeball where Lando's going to come in stronger for you and where Piastri can start picking up those points to build out his career.
And it's also with a Mercedes and George Russell and Kimi Antonelli finishing 5th, 6th. Charles Leclerc and Ferrari a non-factor in this one. Lewis Hamilton finishing 7th, where McLaren has such a big gap on the next two best cars on that grid, because it's McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, and then Red Bull. And for it to be this tight between the best car and maybe the 4th, 5th best machine on the track, that's again a reflection on McLaren with the strategy has to be so iron tight, and they have to put in the risk on this one. Absolutely amazing to watch what Max did this weekend. Again, in a boring race, but you have to reflect on just how good of a driver he is. Once again, I mean, coming off his 4th straight World Drivers' Championship, and can win another. We'll see after the regulations come down what that changes, but he's still just dominating the field.
Yeah, it's his composure and his decisiveness. I mean, I think you put it perfectly when it came to like the pit situation. It's a team effort and decision in that moment, but when you listen to the radio calls between Verstappen and his team versus like Lando and his team, you just hear a way different level of composure and cohesiveness between the two. They trust Max to make these decisions where they're still kind of guiding Piastri and Lando and their decision making, or like sometimes Lando has to make a jump and kind of override his team and what their thought process is while he's on the track. So that's what makes him so good, him being Verstappen. He just has such a good lock on these tracks, like what his studying is on it, not overcomplicating anything, and just trusting the vehicle in its entirety.
Yeah, you see, this was his 4th straight win at the Japanese Grand Prix too. Last 4 times he's raced, he's won all 4 of them. So it's his familiarity with the track. And again, that's just how dominant he is. No matter what machine you give him, he's the best driver right now in the world. It was fun. I can't wait. I'm excited for like the real races to get underway and the real courses, because F1 can't continue to afford. It has to be Silverstone for me, just because of the big S turns. What about for you?
It's Silverstone for me because Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari. Yeah. Like, it's tough to be a Ferrari fan as of late, but you got to stick with what you were raised on. Yeah. And I was a Ferrari.
We'll see Bahrain Grand Prix. That'll be coming up. That's on April 13th. And then Saudi Arabian Grand Prix after that. And then back to Miami. Not a great course. But as always, our F1 race review. Kasey Hudson, George Balekji. This is Boston has entered the chat. Appreciate you guys making us a part of your day. We'll see you guys same time, same place tomorrow. Have a good one.